The information presented on this program is provided for informational purposes only, without warranty of accuracy, completeness, or suitability for a particular purpose. This program is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. This information is general in nature and not specific enough to be construed as advice. You should not make any decision based on the information presented on this program without independent consultation with an appropriately licensed professional or competent advisor. Investment in securities or the market involves a potential risk for loss of principal. Trading, therefore, may not be suitable for all listeners. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals of growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs.
For millions of Americans who retire every year, the task of ensuring that your money is working hard enough to provide you with a consistent paycheck can make the job of working for that paycheck seem easy. Retirement doesn't signal the end of financial worry. In fact, for the majority of retirees, it's just the beginning. The assets you have built must be able to provide you and your family with financial security for all the years to come. That's why you need a game plan for retirement, making sure you have a plan and that your money is working hard to provide you with an income you can depend on. This is Your Game Plan for Retirement.
And welcome into Your Game Plan for Retirement, the show that challenges some of the traditional financial planning concepts and outdated conventional wisdom from Wall Street on building for financial and retirement success. And we talk about models that have proven to provide for more financial freedom in this new economy. And we always check in with your local income allocation advisor on the program. The team from ASC Financial Group is here with us on the program. And today we are joined by Josiah Grauso, who is a member of the team. And Josiah, welcome back into Your Game Plan for Retirement.
Hey, thanks so much, Peter. It's great to be here.
Well, it's always a pleasure having you on the program, providing your guidance and insight on what we need to be doing or thinking about or at least aware of in this new economy in order to provide for better chances of financial success. And Josiah, we are seeing still, as the market has been rising over the last 7 years or so since the big crash in 2008, despite the fact that we've been kind of on an upward trend since then, we're still seeing a lot of volatility and uncertainty in the market. Are you seeing that reflected in your area?
Yeah, without question. Here in the Poconos here, we're seeing a lot of that volatility. I mean, we see it especially with our real estate properties. We're probably one of the only places here who hasn't rebounded as strong from the 2008 corrections here. But with that being said, our market is still, right now we're kind of at all-time highs, or you've been hearing that going forward, but there's still a very sense of unsure. It definitely is not like where we were maybe in the mid-2000s, or even like that everyone remembers in the 90s, where the expectation out there was significant returns. That's at least what we're seeing here.
Are you seeing a lot of angst or uncertainty or anxiety with the people in and around Allentown and the Poconos when they come in and talk with you, especially if they do have assets at risk?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a couple of different things. It's people are concerned, yet at the same hand, they're still doing the same thing that they were doing when the market corrected itself in 2008, and it seems like they don't know too much of what other options we have available out there. I mean, that's some of the reasons why people come and see us, to see what are different type of strategies that are in place in order to avoid some of these major market corrections or losses that we have. But I would ultimately say is that I do feel that more and more, though, that we're seeing is kind of a false sense of maybe security, even though that the market was doing well. They feel like some of the changes maybe that they made in 2009, 2010 with an advisor changed the reason why they lost so much money in 2008. And in reality, it's the economy, it's the market. It really wasn't the different changes that they made in their portfolio.
Well, that's a great point. And I do want to remind folks that a lot of times there are other alternatives that may be available that maybe you have not explored that you might want to consider incorporating into your larger game plan for retirement and your retirement portfolio. And to have some education on that with an advisor who has a vested interest in your best interest and access to just about everything that is available in the financial world, so they can discuss those options with you and the potential benefits or disadvantages. Pick up the phone and give a call, 800-939-8633. Again, that number, 800-939-8633, because Josiah Grauso and the team at ASC Financial Group want you to have a retirement built to last, and will set aside part of their time to you on a complimentary, no-obligation basis to make sure that you have that. So again, for a detailed and thorough financial review and evaluation and a discussion of all the options available to you and what might be best suited to help you achieve your goals, pick up the phone and give a call to 800-939-8633. Again, 800-939-8633. I think you hit on an excellent point there, Josiah, that a lot of people, whether they made changes in 2008 or 2009 or not, seem to be feeling like they are riding high on the wave here or doing well, or sort of have been lulled back to sleep, are not really paying attention to where we are, I feel. And there still is a lot of inherent danger, and even if they did make changes, a lot of them are still in a position of risk. Are you seeing that sometimes people have more risk in their portfolio than they're even aware of or are comfortable with?
Absolutely, Peter. We do educational classes at local college that are sponsored by local colleges here. Some of the main things that we do when we talk about is purely just informational, educational, is understanding where you are, where you want to be, and maybe how to get there. There's several people I can think of back in 2014 that came to see us that he mentioned that, I did lose a whole lot of money in 2008, and so I made sure I switched my advisor. I got out of there. I switched with somebody new, and he says, you know what, I'll get you in a good place. Don't worry. At the time when I lost my money in 2008, I lost about 50%. It's come back since then. But why don't you take a look at this for a free analysis? That's what we give everybody as an offer, is to just take a look to see a second opinion where they are. And so when we did this analysis, it turns out he would have lost more money if the market fell like it did in 2008 at that particular time than as it was back in 2008. He would have lost more. So there was no real correction and changes that we see. And I think that's a real big fundamental piece that's missing from a lot of these retirement portfolios that I am not seeing, is really a designation of how their money is to be working. Is it designed for strictly growth? Is it designed for income? Is it designed for everyday expenses? What are the particulars that your money is set aside to do, and how is that money performing in that particular area? And I think if we're missing, especially the area of income, and we don't designate a portion of our portfolio that is purely and unequivocally designed for income, that we can fall right back to where we were in 2008 into some serious concerns. It also kind of thinks me back to a couple of different polls that are out there that advisors or investors think about. I think back at a Gallup poll that was done in 2003, and an investor's expectation of how the market was going to perform was about 18.5% by 1999. They felt that we should have our money grow at about 19% every single year. That's the expected rate of return, because we had unprecedented growth in the 90s. So a lot of people left the safety of the banks and put their money in the market. The same Gallup poll 3 years later, investors' expectations in 2003 dropped down to 8.5%. because the market went through a correction of 2000, 2001, 2002. Last year, we had 7 years of growth. Our expected return was 9 to 11%. They redid that poll a year later, 2016. It's now down to 5%. Again, we have an investor's bias or a buyer's bias out there of what we should maybe getting as our investments, but we're not taking the steps that are necessary in order to correct ourselves or implementing safe money strategies in order to make sure we're not going to get affected by the next market correction.
And I think this ties back into our emotional response and reaction to our money. As the market tends to go up, we tend to believe that it should continue to go up. And as the market goes down, maybe we're a little bit more conservative or even fearful of the market, and therefore reflect that with our expectations, when in fact the exact opposite should be true if you are really investing with a discipline that the market is always going to go up and it's always going to go down, and you want to take advantage of the old adage of buy low and sell high. Our emotions tend to lead us in the exact opposite direction. And from your description of the person that came in that had undergone the changes, but really everything was still at risk, it's kind of the same stuff, different toilet, or the more things change, the more they stay the same. It seems like, the mix of assets might have been slightly different, but the end result would have been the same. Josiah, you are not adversarial to the market. It's just that it's used for a certain time and a certain purpose, and you want people to be aware of when and how their money is at risk.
Without question, Peter. I am an investment advisor representative. I hold a Series 65 securities license. I am a fiduciary to my clients. I am not anti-market. I definitely think the market is one of the best places that we can get a decent rate of return. The problem is, and I think it's what we've been, as investors, almost shoved down our throats, is that the market is the single and only place you can go in order to get a return, but to have a mixture of your accounts. And that's why, 2000s and in the late 90s, we came out with, dollar cost averaging and all these buy and hold and all these different strategies that we can do is ways that we can protect from our money to lose again. And 2008, basically almost every one of these financial principles all failed. And we're still doing the same things that we're doing today. And I think the biggest key to it, when you're talking specifically about the market, is understanding the difference between a real rate of return and an average rate of return. And if I could just give it a quick example to give you an understanding here, if I had two choices between just 3 different time periods that we had, number A time period, you would lose 50%, the second year you would make 50%, and the third year you would make 33%. Then you have got scenario number 2, where the first year, you gained nothing, you lost nothing. You got a 0% return. The second year, the most you can make is 10%. Third year, the most you can make is 10%. So you got 10 and 10 based on what the market did. If you think back to what math tells us is, scenario number 1 had an 11% average. That turned out to be the best, where scenario 2 only had a 6.67% rate of return. But if you actually put dollars and numbers to that, if I had $1 in scenario number 1 and I lose 50% of it, I've only got 50 cents. If I had $1 in scenario number 2 and the market drops down 50%, but I can't lose anything, I still have my original $1. When the market rebounds, goes back up 50% in scenario number 1, I'm not back to my $1. I'm only getting 50% of 50 cents. That's 25. I'm back to 75. And then on the third year, getting another 33%. I did that to make the math work out because I get back to my original $1. In scenario number 2, I have my $1. I didn't lose anything with the market going down. Market goes up 50%. I'm at 10. I'm now at $1.10. The following year, the market goes back up. I'm at $1.21 with compounded interest. It really makes a difference that we understand not what the average rate of return is going to do, but what the real rate of return is. What does this mean in dollars and cents to my portfolio?
And so our average return is not reflective of the real results on our money. And that is something, again, that I think people maybe don't have as deep an understanding of as they need to. Maybe they have a surface understanding of that. But again, a lot of times we lead with emotions, and we see that 10-year or 5-year historical look back on the returns, the average rate of returns of our investments, and we might choose the highest one, but that does not indicate what the real results on our money was, and that one with the highest average rate of return may have also experienced the greatest losses in a downturn. So we need to have a true understanding of our real risk exposure. And Josiah, I know that type of analysis is something that you talk about and discuss with somebody when they come in for that complimentary financial review and evaluation, just by calling the show at 800-939-8633. Again, 800-939-8633. You're going to help somebody review and evaluate that amount of risk and what the actual returns are, and help them have a better understanding of the amount of risk they are truly exposed to, rather than just kind of that emotional response to what they feel they may be exposed to.
No, absolutely, Peter. Our whole mantra at our firm is to really plan before you invest, is to understand before you dive into a pool. The reason for that is because without knowing really what you have, how you have it, and where you need to be, that's all focused on the first part of a plan that you've got together. You need to know where you are and where you need to be. It's what we talk about a lot of times on this show, is that income gap. What are these income distributions that we need? And that's what we really encourage people to understand, what it is that they need, what it is that they want, and how we're able to bridge that gap. Only really truly understanding your investments and the type of accounts you have, the risks that are apparent to them, can you have a successful retirement? And that's going to be different for everybody. Some of us, we're okay with garnering a 20, 25, maybe 30% or more drop down in the market if that means 10 years from now we can be up 38 or 45% from where we were. And that's okay. But I would tell you, for the majority of the people that I personally sit down with and I see, is large substantial losses in their portfolio is one of the hardest things that they can stomach and they can overcome. And what happens is we pull our money out at the wrong time. We put our money back in at the wrong time. Again, it's kind of something that you mentioned in the beginning, is we buy low, we sell high. Just as everybody's feeling good of where we are, we feel comfortable, we're going to buy back in, and the market starts to correct. We're going to say, we're going to hold in, we're going to hold in, we're going to hold in, and then we say we can't take this anymore, take all of our money out, and that's just as the market recovers. It's just the typical old adage, and that's why we've got to stop making our investment choices that are based on emotion. Instead, have a rules-based approach of why we're doing what we're doing and how we're doing it. And it's for an outcome that's several years away, as opposed to something that's 5 feet in front of us.
And there's kind of an old joke about making money in the market. Josiah, do you know how you make a small fortune in the market?
How's that, Peter? I know the answer, but why don't you tell everybody?
You start with a large one.
There you go.
And I think that's in large part due to that emotional response. Do you see that people are sort of asleep at the wheel right now? I mean, we are hearing all the time how well the economy is doing, how strong we are in the economy, and sort of seeing that in the results in the market, maybe near or at relatively all-time highs in the market, and certainly have recovered since 2008. But do you think the very fact that we have seen that over the past 7 or 8 years has maybe left some folks sleeping at the wheel, where they're not paying as much attention? They've been lulled to sleep with 7 years of no major corrections. And how do you honestly feel about our economy? And folks, do you feel we are in a good place? Do people need a wake-up call, in other words, Josiah, in order to take action?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Absolutely. And this keeps tying into everything that we're talking about. And too often of a time, the numbers of registries or attendees to my classes, to our seminars, that we see kind of going forward is typically just as the market is falling and it's crashing and everybody's lost money, that's the time they want to attend my class. Not now, not they don't want to learn when things are going well, because they feel like, things are going good. Why should I make any changes? But that's when you've got to take control the most. I put this back to gambling. Let's say we've got $100,000. We bring it all down to Atlantic City. We throw that entire $100,000 on red 30. And you know what? At that roulette wheel, that ball lands on red 30. We've doubled our money. Well, what are we going to do out there? Are we going to sit there and let it ride again? Or are we going to take the winnings off? Or are we going to take the whole thing off? Honestly, when I take a look at the market, that's exactly what I see here. For the last 7 years, we've hit red 30. Now, does that mean the market correction is going to come tomorrow? It's going to come 2 months from now? It's going to come 5 years from now? Peter, as much as you and for me, I don't have a crystal ball. If I did, I would be on a beach in Tahiti. I wouldn't be here on this radio program right now. But I can tell you, I can guarantee there's 3 things the market's going to do. For those of you out there, advisors are never supposed to guarantee anything, but I guarantee people the market's either going to go up, it's going to go down, or it's going to stay the same. What do you want your money to do? How do you want it to work? And have you designated the purpose of your retirement dollars? Have you put it into a budget, and have you put it into an income plan? That's the idea of where taking the gains, taking the losses, it really makes sense, as opposed to have all of it on red 30 just waiting for the next market correction.
Well, you mentioned some of the educational opportunities, some of the classes that you hold at university campuses across the area, and I know that if folks want to maybe attend or find out when some of those upcoming events are going to be held so that they can check their schedules and see if they can attend, all they need to do is pick up the phone and give you a call at 800-939-8633, and you'll get back in touch with them and give them the details or share the calendar with them of upcoming events. And I know that those classes are great uses of a lot of people's time in furthering that education, and now is the time to become better educated when you have the wherewithal, means, and ability to preserve some of your capital and maybe make some money in the market. But Josiah, can you help us with maybe discussing some of the additional topics of discussion that you will help educate people through that class or even through that one-on-one review and evaluation?
Absolutely. One of the things we do when we do this one-on-one review, specifically on this one-on-one review with people who come to either our classes or who call in from the radio shows here is, again, the purpose of it is to make sure we are as educated as possible because, being successful does not mean we have a large bank account or we have a large income or a large pension or several of those type of things. That's a great sign that you've done well. That doesn't mean you're going to have a successful retirement. What we find is to be successful is making the appropriate decisions or the right decisions based on what you have. And what we truly believe is that the better people are informed, the better decisions they can make. And that's the things that we try to stress them at the college classes we teach, Social Security classes we teach, as well as in the review process we do as we take a second look or a second opinion over their portfolio and their income plan. And many times we sit down with people and they have no income plan at all. They've just got statements in their envelopes and they just say, this is what I have. I'm not too sure how it works. I just look at the number. Does it go up or did it go down? And that's it. But it's important to make sure we're putting a plan in place. We understand, again, where our dollars are and how they're to be utilized, and if they're working to the way that they're supposed to be working, whether it be for income, liquidity, or appreciation and growth. And that's the type of things that we go over and we talk about both at our class and in the one-on-one reviews meetings that we have with people is, do we know the fees we're paying? The risks are we taking? Is it appropriate? Do we know how this is going to garner income, and will it provide a sustainable, guaranteed, increasing income throughout their lifetime for the next 20, 25, or 30 years.
Well, folks, Josiah Grauso and the team from ASC Financial Group do want you to have a retirement built to last, and they believe that that is only achieved through information and education and you being able to make informed decisions. So if you would like to take them up on the offer to attend one of their upcoming workshops or classes, or for that complimentary review and evaluation one-on-one of your personal and individual goals and your portfolio to make sure that your investments are working to help you achieve those goals, pick up the phone and give them a call, 800-939-8633. Again, that number, 800-939-8633. Josiah, I have, one final question because we're almost out of time on this program, but something that I have been thinking about personally here, and I wanted to get your take on it. Do you believe that the demographics of our population are going to affect some of the economic and market fundamentals as this huge wave of baby boomers moves from their working career into retirement?
Absolutely, Peter. I mean, if you think about it, the baby boomers, what we've got kind of coming on over here for the next 15 years, we're going to have 72 million plus baby boomers who have either already retired or will within the next 5, 10 or so years are going to continue to retire here. And there's going to be a huge influx of money that was being spent while baby boomers were working and investing and buying to now retiring and not maybe spending as much money. And we can really see this in the area of Social Security. Think about for Social Security, we all know out there that the Social Security Trust Fund is going broke. It's running out of money. In fact, for those of you with your statements out there, pull it out on the first page. There should be a paragraph on the right-hand side that says by 2032, Without changes to the trust fund, we're only going to be able to pay about 77 cents for every $1 of scheduled benefits. And one of the reasons for that happening is because when Social Security was put into existence in 1935, we had 160 workers for every one person collecting a Social Security benefit. Right now, we have 4 workers for every one person collecting. And in about 10 more years, it's going to drop down to 2 workers for every one person collecting. Why is that? Because we aren't having as many children. There's not as many people that are in the workforce. So there's not that as much investing. And that's where we can see a major shift in our economic pattern here, or our economy in general, is as we're starting to retire and we're not working anymore, we're not having a guaranteed paycheck coming in, we may be more and more concerned about spending money on different lavish lifestyles or going out to eat or buying new cars or whatever the case is, going on vacations. And we could drastically see a major impact in this market going forward in this economy. And for those who haven't taken a look at putting a plan in place, or at least having an exit strategy, a type of plan that has the highest probability of success, I'm sorry to say, but I hope that you're not going to just be kind of left by the wayside there as these things start to change and as these pressures of prices that we see as assets are being moved around and changed and reserved more for savings as opposed to spending and investing are going to be a total different economic or economy landscape.
Well, folks, if you would like some help with making those considerations, again, Josiah, part of your process is helping people make well-informed decisions regarding their Social Security and the implications that it's going to have on the rest of their savings and their outlook for retirement. I know that there's a lot that goes into Social Security. There's typically many more choices and options than people are truly aware of, and you believe that Social Security is something that should be incorporated into your larger game plan for retirement. It should not be your plan for retirement, and that's why you take some special time set aside to help folks in become informed and make wise decisions with their Social Security as well.
Absolutely. Just like we mentioned earlier in the show, folks, for the listeners who are out there, is please pick up that phone. And if this is you and this is something you want to schedule a one-on-one consultation, again, no cost, no obligation, but to review where you are. One of the things we're going to take a look at is how your income gap is associated. Do we have enough of guaranteed income in order to last us the next 20, 25, 30 or more years? What are the sustainable guaranteed sources of income that you currently have in your portfolio? Namely being Social Security and pensions. How is that added? And then your remaining investments, you have your 401ks, your IRAs. How is that added? Keep in mind, folks, this show, people who come to see us, it's not designed to make every one of our listeners a client. It's designed to be able to pass on this information and to give us more information than what we had before. It's to get us more educated so that we can make proper and correct decisions. Now, if people want, we can give them suggestions and recommendations of what we do, but namely, we're going to take a look at where you are, where your investments are, and how that correlates to your risk that you're willing and you want to accept. We're going to take a look at the fees and how this plan works for taxes. And we're going to see if your expectations is going to match your reality. And if you have your income gap covered, and if the next market correction does happen in the near future, how will that impact you? And we'll take a look at your current plan and stress test it to see if there's a cause for concern.
And folks, that review process is meant to help you take this information, these strategies, these concepts, and learn how they may apply to your own personal situation. It's going to help you assess the risk that you're exposed to, the taxes that you may be liable for, the costs for your investments, and most importantly, your outlook for retirement security. And given that information, you can make better decisions. So if you would like to undergo that complimentary, no cost, no obligation financial review and evaluation, pick up the phone and give a call to ASC Financial Group for a retirement built to last. 800-939-8633. Again, that number, 800-939-8633. Josiah, the information that you share with us on this program is so important. We certainly appreciate you being here, sharing it with us on Your Game Plan for Retirement.
Thanks again, Pete. Can't wait wait to talk to you again.
We'll look forward to talking with you and the listeners next week on Your Game Plan for Retirement. Once again, folks, the number to take Josiah Grauso and the team from ASC Financial Group up on that offer for a complimentary review, 800-939-8633. We'll talk to you next week.
The content of this radio show is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. You are encouraged to seek investment, tax, or legal advice from an independent professional advisor. Any investments and/or investment strategies mentioned involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. Advisory services offered through Brookstone Capital Management, a registered investment advisor.
Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group is solely an indication that the financial advisor has attended training provided by Ed Slott and Company, passed biannual examinations on material covered at conferences and in webinars, and met other membership requirements, and does not constitute an endorsement of any kind. Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group members pay a fee for the educational programs that allow them to be included in the Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group. Membership does not guarantee investment success. Fiduciary duty extends solely to investment advisory advice and does not extend to other activities such as insurance or broker-dealer services. Advisory clients are charged a quarterly fee for assets under management, while insurance products pay a commission, which may result in a conflict of interest regarding compensation.